Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again, this time for a review of the Roto Rubicon UC3. A quick disclaimer, I am not much of a urethane enthusiast, so I will be comparing this to a fast pitch, but I don't throw urethane very often at all. Getting right into the numbers here, the UC3 features the Rondor core featured in the Rubicon series with the Torethane Pearl cover stock. I did go with a 5x4x1.5 layout. Pretty standard. I usually go 5x4x2 on big asymmetric stuff. I wanted a little more help down lane out of this ball with that layout. As you see it go down the lane, you can see right off the bat it shapes quite a bit more than most urethane. Obviously that big core in there compared to the really mild stuff that's in most urethane balls creates a lot more shape. Shaping urethane has been hot for a few years now, ever since the Purple Hammer came out. And there have been some close ones from other companies that sort of match that. This is probably a lot stronger than that as far as total board coverage. If anyone remembers the Shadow Ops from 900 Global a couple of years ago, this kind of gives me the same idea where it's a milder asymmetric core, but you do see the core do quite a bit of work compared to traditional urethane. I find flaring urethane balls to be a lot more usable if you can get them to flare 2 or 3 inches, because you're not dragging as much oil down the lane and leaving quite as big of a footprint as you would with like a fast pitch or a pitch black, which have essentially non-flaring cores in them. You can see this ball creates a ton of shape and frankly doesn't even really look like urethane going down the lane. For me, urethane is really only usable on shorter patterns where the shot is further right. I have a hard time with my ball roll projecting the ball to the right and getting a consistent look when I get the ball really far away from the head pin like that. Something like this would either let me be a little further left than I should be on something shorter that would typically force me to the gutter, or let me go up the lane a little bit and sort of keep it in front of me and still get it to lay off, versus something reactive which would hook a bunch if I tried to kind of tug it on a shorter pattern. I can see this particular ball being really useful on like a wet dry house shot. It is extremely blendy, which kind of goes without saying. Urethane is designed to sort of make your miss room really big, but you do tend to sacrifice a little bit of pin carry. This ball with the bigger weight block in it does seem to carry a little bit better, but I couldn't really miss left at all without it either pushing in the oil and hitting really flat, or grabbing really early and taking off. Misses into the friction were okay. It was a lot more likely to underhook than overhook, so I could get it right early and not worry about it standing up really hard, because this cover is pretty tame. Overall, pearlized urethane really seems like sort of the best version of balls like this, where you get some length, you get some continuation out of them, where they're not just super strong at your toes and then don't do much else. The fast pitch is currently the only other urethane ball that I have in my arsenal, and it is something that I have to keep super in front of me most of the time. This is a fresh house shot that I did this video on, and so that allows me to kind of give the ball away and get it into where there's some reliable friction. But urethane on a tougher condition where there's not some defined friction to throw to really forces me really straight with my lack of tilt in my heavier ball roll. If you're somebody that typically doesn't like traditional urethane or doesn't throw urethane a lot, I think this would be a good option for you because of how much shape it creates. It certainly shapes more than anything I've seen from the Storm family. Again, I've only thrown a fast pitch. I haven't ordered a pitch black or a pitch purple or any of those yet. Obviously the pitch purple flares quite a bit and shapes quite a bit, and this seems to be a little earlier and a little less quick and sharp down the lane than the pitch purple is. I tried to demonstrate a couple of different shots here where you'll see essentially the only 2 lines that I can normally play with urethane. I can get it to the right kind of quick and let it stand up and stop off of the friction, or I can keep it sort of on the line where the track is, where there's a little bit of oil, a little bit of friction, and just go up that track area and play it that way. But there's not a whole lot for me in between. I can't just move in and really wheel it because I won't get it back to the head pin, and I can't just go super right and fire it because it wants to dig in really soon. As far as where this fits in a bag for me, it's certainly going to be something that I could bring to a higher friction house shot tournament and start in the track with something like this, and then go in with bigger stuff as they transition a little bit. Sometimes when I move left too early on a house shot, I get into trouble trying to carry the corner pins, and this would kind of let me wait on them to come to me as the tournament went on. If you're somebody that throws a lot of urethane or likes to throw urethane a lot, this is something that I think gives you a totally different shape than anything out, not only in Storm's line, but really on the market in general right now. And at least in my locale, we are seeing a lot of league players that at least have a urethane ball and go to it from time to time whenever they don't have a look with something else. And I think if you're one of those players that likes to throw urethane and just kind of keep it in the bag just in case, this is a great balance of something that you can throw that's going to give you something that you can play straighter angles with, something that you can make them a little easier with. And also, because it flares, you're not going to leave as much of a footprint on the lane, so you're not going to make them as difficult, not only for others, but for yourself either. This cover still doesn't absorb oil the way that reactive resin does, but because it flares, it's not dragging near as much oil down the lane as quickly. So you could probably throw a UC3 for a game or two, or maybe even a 3-game set, and the other people on your pair may not even realize that you're throwing urethane because they're not going to see the lanes change the same way that they would if you threw like a pitch black or a fast pitch. Overall, I really like the UC3. I think it's going to come with me out of town a lot. I think I'm going to be able to throw it in league every once in a while, and I think something like this is going to allow me to put urethane in my arsenal in a way that's actually usable, where I don't just have to go super up the lane with it the way that I typically have to with a fast pitch. Get yours at your local pro shop November 19th, or come see me at Millennium Bowling Supply to get yours drilled. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.